Hi everybody, this is Brooke with Conversations with Brooke. So today I was going to talk about victim shaming. And the way that victim shaming comes down is usually there's somebody who comes out about something, and this could be about all different types of things, but specifically in religious groups or cult situations. Oftentimes it's when somebody has left, or when somebody comes out about something in regards to the leaders of an organization. And because they've been put in a leadership position, everybody goes to take the leader's position and to protect them, and blames the person who's coming out and saying something negative about them. It happens all the time. It's often an attack on somebody who's left. It's because of the different words that are used. And from my experience personally, a lot of times it's because most people don't know a lot of the things that actually happened. And wouldn't believe it right away anyway. So for example, in our group, when I was still involved, there was a lot of people who left over the years, and there was a lot of people who called it a cult. Everybody who was still in it was very allegiant to it. We were like, no, it's not a cult. They don't understand, because we're a family, we're a group, we just care about each other, and we're not a cult. But what a lot of the people who were in the group didn't know was there was a lot of things that had happened that had caused some of the people who left to leave. There was a woman who was beat up. Nobody to this day who's still in the group, except for a handful of people who had personal knowledge, knew she had had the living shit beat out of her by the minister. He actually paid her off. He paid her to never mention it again. Because how would that tarnish his reputation to know he was beating up members? And I guarantee you, if you told half the people there, other than people who have left, would be like, yeah, I don't doubt it. I'm sure that happened. But there's a lot of people who are still in that group who wouldn't believe it for anything. And then there's this separation that's put between people who are there and people who are left. So you don't really find out the whole story. You don't find out everything that happens. And because you've put this person on a pedestal, you just don't fucking believe it anyway. So it's like, in a way that a lot of people can understand this, it is like an abusive relationship. And I use this comparison a lot because most people get it. I dated a guy for a while. We were together a couple of years. I didn't tell people how abusive he was because I was separating my family from him, because it was getting more and more, and I thought I was protecting people by keeping them away. But at the same time, people loved him. People who didn't know him thought he was a great guy. And so and it wasn't until we broke up and we ended it that I began realizing, first off, it's almost like I didn't quite see everything that was going on. I was so in the middle of it, I couldn't really see everything that it was happening. But he used to wake me up in the middle of the night to fight with me. Like, wake me up at midnight and start picking fights with me when I was in a dead sleep. And most people, if I had told them, or even told them that about him today, if they know him in a different way, they would not see him as that person. They would see him as this kind, funny, loving guy. Just because you haven't experienced it doesn't mean it didn't happen. And if you want to pull the wool over your eyes about an organization that you're even in, that's on you. But I would challenge you, if somebody says something, are you willing to ask the questions to see if there might be some part of what they're saying that is true? People don't make bullshit up out of thin air. Even after I got out of the organization, of the cult that we were in, it was interesting. I had a run-in with a woman, and I've known her for years. We grew up together. She's a little younger than me, but we had a little bit of a conflict. I confronted her about something that I didn't appreciate, or I had heard her talking about to mutual friends in regards to my family. And when I confronted her, she ends up reaching out to another family member and basically telling my other family member, stop calling, you and your sister need to stop calling this a cult. It's not a cult. I guarantee you, under every classification, that my group was an absolute fucking cult. It is. And because she's still in the middle of it, she doesn't see it. And my heart goes out to her and everybody else who may still be in it, because sometimes when you're in the middle of something, you can't see it for what it is. But you're probably turning a blind eye. And that's on you. You're probably not asking the questions to find out if it's true. And that's your fault. So I would pressure you, urge you to stop victim shaming. And if somebody tells you something, then you have a responsibility, if you are going to take a part in any part of what you're involved in, to find out if there might be some place that what they said is true. And most people are not willing to do that. Most people are not willing to go find out if what they said is true. And if you were not in the middle of whatever the relationship was between that person and who they're saying did something to them, then again, you probably don't know. You probably don't know what they've been through. You may not have been there for any of it. And there may have been things that they shielded other people from and that they didn't talk about and that they didn't tell people, because they may not have known how abusive the situation was. I was in an abusive relationship for a while. Nobody really quite knew for a long time. And even then, people don't realize, there's a lot of things that I didn't tell a lot of people about, most of it. It was not something I felt that was ever, there's a lot of embarrassment and humiliation and shame that goes into it. So sometimes once you realize what you've been in, you don't necessarily want to tell people. So when somebody comes out and they do begin to share that information, give them the benefit of the doubt. And stop the name calling. You know, the crazy bullshit name calling. And find out for yourself if maybe there's something that you're missing. So, anyway, as always, thank you guys for watching. If you'd like to connect with me, you're always welcome to connect with me. Go to my website at 100yearsofbliss.com. If you'd like to take my quiz, I'd love to see if there's, some way we can work together. And you can also check me out on Facebook, Instagram. Most of it's 100 Years of Bliss, but I also have some other ones, but I'm pretty easy to find. Have an amazing day, and see you all soon.